Hello, everybody. Bengala Zanji here. Change management. Still on the topic or on the course, corporate strategic management and ethics. We want to be looking at change management. And among so many other things, we'll be answering why do organizations need to change? Why need to change? We'll be looking at why do organizations need to change. We will look at change management. We will look at the context of change. We will look at people's attitude to change. We will look at resistance to change and how are we going to know that people are resisting the change that is ongoing. How do people resist change? Then we will look at the force field analysis, and also we will look at LEWIN's three dimensions of change, that is three-stage approach to change. So then we will look at KOTTER'S 8 stages too of managing change. So this is Csme. Subscribe to us, like us, click the notification button, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us, and you can be sure that we are going to respond to your question. So, change. Why do organizations need to change? Basically, change will happen, but could be triggered externally and could be triggered internally. Could be triggered externally and could be triggered internally. When it's triggered externally, we'll be talking about externally triggered factors like economic opportunity and threats. Competitors' activity can influence us to change and force us to change. Change in technology, we may need to adjust, respond to change in technology. Artificial intelligence, we're in the global village and digitalization is now here to stay. Globalization could force change on us. Changes in legislation within the country, environmental and political pressure can cause us to change. And even within our processes within the organization, conflict and tension among colleagues could force change to happen. When we have big wigs coming into our midst in form of maybe new recruitment and appointment of director, managing director, executives and the like, everybody will come with their own style of leadership and change is imminent. If we are experiencing merger and acquisition, it's going to force us to change. Growing complexity of the organization, so maybe we are re-engineering, reorganizing, restructuring. It will force us to change among so many other things. And also, if there has been a department or a function before that we've localized and internalized, but now we just want it to be outsourced, it's going to cause us to change. These are some of the reasons organizations must change and do change. Like now we are experiencing pandemic, Brexit, digitalization, organization transformation. These are some of the things that will make organization to change. And when we change, therefore, we must equally manage it. We must manage our change, our changes. So for the purpose of this lecture, we are now going to be focusing our attention on the strategy to change as organization, not like change in project management, because there are two dimensions to change. But now we want to concentrate on the change as organization, not on the project. And also we will look at LEWIN's unfreezing, freeze and refreeze change, and the 8 dimension brought to us by John KOTTER'S, in which he propounded that 8 stages of managing change. This is an overview of the topic of change management, and we are going to look at them in details as we continue on this channel. Context of change. When change needs to happen, we must ask ourselves a fundamental question. How quickly does the change need to happen? Depending on what has triggered us to change. How quickly do we have able hand on ground to implement the change and help us? What things need to change? We must know them, itemize them, list them out, so that change implementation management will not be haphazard. Of course, we know that not everything needs to change, so we need to know what should change. Do we have capability in form of staff experience, like I said before, to help us to implement it? Are there resources enough that we need to channel to the change that is occurring? Because we may need new resources that probably we've not been using in change implementation. So all this must be in place in the context of change. We must ask ourselves also, does the organization have a change culture? What has our change that has happened before? What was the experience like? Do we have change culture? All this must be answered. People's attitude to change now. People will always react to change. And as we know, change is the only constant thing in life. But however, how do you feel personally about that your business unit we are to change? And whose responsibility is it to manage change? The feelings of the people and the like. Of course, it's the manager's responsibility to manage people's feeling, and that is why it's important for us to be proactive in managing change. Envisage that this and this may happen. Staff may react this way. What are we going to do? If this has changed, what support do we have in place? These are important questions that we need to ask ourselves when we are changing things. Resistance to change will happen, and the biggest barrier to change is ourselves, people. So we must consider people critically when we are changing things within the organization. And resistance will be in form of this that we've highlighted: fear of losing something they value, the processes that they are used to. They don't understand the change and its implications to them. What will happen to them? They don't know, and they want to know, and they should know. They don't think the need change actually makes sense. They don't think that we need to implement this change. They find it difficult to cope with either the level or the pace at which we are changing things. And these are factors to which people will react to. So, how will people demonstrate resistance? How do people resist change? Normally, some people can refuse the new system or show a seemingly resistance to use the new systems and procedures. Some people may make no effort, even on the basic level, to know the new thing that is in vogue. They just don't want to get involved, and we need to carry them along. This is part of change management. Some people will begin to criticize and find fault in everything that has changed. Some people will react and continually have a protracted discussion with us, especially the change managers, and ask series of questions, request for more information also. Last but not the least, some people may refuse to attend the meeting that we've proposed to discuss change. The force field analysis. The force field analysis actually simply let us know that in implementing change management, and this was given to us by LEWIN, there are two forces. The positive forces, that is reasons we need to implement the change, and the resistant or restraining forces, the obstacles on the way. And in implementing changes, change managers must ensure that the positive forces are more than the resisting and restraining forces. If not, implementing the change will not make sense and will not be profitable at long run. So we must ensure that the driving forces are more and stronger in their capability and enforcement, and in their profitability to us as a whole, as an organization, than the restraining and obstacles on the way to the change we want to implement. LEWIN talks about the three dimensions and stages of change management. Basically, he advises us to first of all unfreeze, in which we let loose the processes that we have on ground and let everything that could fall apart. Then we introduce change, and after we've introduced change, then we freeze things up, in which we make sure that everything that has fallen apart are put together, and we strictly ensure that the new process is strictly adhered to. So we unfreeze, we change, then we refreeze ourselves and processes. This basically is the overview. And last but not the least we are looking at is that of the KOTTER'S 8 stages to managing changes, in which he said we should create, we should build and form, we should enlist, enable, generate, sustain what we've generated by accelerating it, and we should institutionalize it. So we take them one by one. We should create a sense of urgency after we've known that we need to change and we've seen more of our positive forces than the negative and restraining, constraining forces. Then we create a sense of urgency for ourselves while we need to trigger the change. Then we need to build coalition between the change managers and those that may need to implement it, and those that we may need to work together. That is the change managers and the staff. So when we're talking about change managers, we may be talking about the CEO, the managing director, the chairman, and the like. We must ensure that they carry along the staff. Then we form a strategic vision and initiative. Let vision drive us to implement the change. We, as we are implementing, we begin to observe staff, some that are really joining, some that are laid back and the like, And with this, after we form a strategic vision and we've observed things, we'll be able to enlist volunteers, which is the fourth stage. We'll be able to enlist the volunteers, that is those that are ready to cruise along with us for the change to happen. Then we go to this fifth step, which is to enable action by removing barriers. And this barrier may be in form of processes, in form of people and the like, and we need to go about it with caution, with vision, and in coalition. When we do this, pass the fifth stage successfully, then we'll be able to generate a short-term wins. Able to generate short-term wins, and it's good that it should be win-win. Then we should sustain our acceleration, ensure our acceleration. Like now at this stage, we're beginning to freeze things up again. Then last but not the least, then we institute change. That is, we make it permanent. We made it like a process and assure that it will not change. This is the way we are going forward. We institutionalize the process. So change management overview is what we just look at. We are going to look at it in details, but we have introduced ourselves to it, and I want to believe seriously that the depth of this overview will help somebody to pass Csme, that is Corporate Strategic Management and Ethics. From James Associates, don't forget to like and subscribe to us. Click that notification bell, click all, so that you will all oftentimes be receiving notification from us. Like us, comment. We build this community of knowledge together as we release new video. From James Associates, Bengala Tunji will be signing off. We pride ourselves in that we are value to life, we are value to your businesses.